Here we go.
Quiet up. Clubs on. It's June, and it's 2020. Yes, we are Mr. Richie, up top mayor, top and up, well dressed mayor, Richie Thomas. Remember the mayor, the councillor, first time mayor, historically the youngest mayor ever in Mount Vernon. Yeah, listen, people.
That's it. That's it. Gloves on, gloves off. All about respect.
Oh man, I'm getting you know. Things don't do like yesterday. Alongside the Richie up top here, Mount Vernon native fans. Yeah.
I don't know if they're ready for this, but we got a lot to discuss. It's been a lot going on in the world. I mean, it seems like every time we talk, something happens the next day, and then something else happens, and then the world keeps changing. But
Yeah.
we just got to give a big shout out to the Black Lives Matter movement for making sure they move the agenda forward, because the one um, sacrifice that happened in Minnesota with George Floyd really set off a series of events that created the more urgency for people to pay attention to the other injustices that are going on. And a tremor is currently shaking all of our communities, especially our inner cities, where we're going to be dealing with issues of people being evicted in mass because
Right.
people are not working, and the moratorium on evictions is about to lift, and it's like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen is people are going to get pushed out of their homes, and government is going to be put in an even tougher spot to figure out how to, keep people in. I mean, this is a big problem that has to be addressed, and there are a couple of ways to do it, but it's going to require a lot of cooperation and a lot of patience. But I don't know, Gassy, if people got either, given the fact that the coronavirus seems to be creating all sorts of illnesses that's very hard to address based on the fact that it's just over the health system. So we really
Yeah.
we're going to have to think very carefully, or at least governments have to think very carefully about these mass evictions and how they're going to handle it. And I'd love to put some solutions on the table, but it's each solution requires a lot of careful management.
Yeah, you saw right, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Thomas. Again, we want to welcome everybody to our next segment, Clubs Out, in June. And it's 2020. First, we want to welcome everybody to this segment. It's very serious. The pandemic is seem like it is coming back. Coronavirus, COVID-19. But what you say, Mr. Mayor, makes sense. You have to have special thought in just coming up with a solution for what's going on. So there's so much thing on the table. We're talking about the year of the census, the year of a national election to get a new president. We're talking about the national health debate, also the national disaster agency that was demolished by this president. I know what we're seeing is a stimulus that didn't work. That's what I'm doing. It ain't in a certain era, but it didn't work. So what's gonna happen? So
Well,
everybody guesses as good as you and the it's not easy.
well, hang on. You got to listen, and you listen to the wisdom of Bob Marley, and you listen to War. It's still relevant.
They say the truth is in the music.
Shit. This is prophetic, you know. It has to be equal. The inequities have to be addressed. And that's what it is. This is a war for life. And we gotta take a look at this. And it's like, you know, I've been saying this each show we had. What needs to happen is restaurants, and I'm starting small with Mount Vernon. Restaurants. We have about 28 restaurants within 4 square miles. Each of those restaurants should have been given a rotation schedule to feed neighborhoods at a deep discount or free. And the government should have paid for it as part of, you know, a combination of our initiatives, be it tourism, be it COVID emergency, however, whatever is permissible under the CARES Act that was passed. Mount Vernon was given $3 million to do with whatever it needed under the coronavirus. So that $3 million should have went toward keeping our restaurants and other critical, you know, community establishments going. Why? Because they hire people that live here. Yeah.
Plus $1.3 million for the homeless. No, I just talk about that. Let's talk about the first casualty in Mount Vernon. I'm passing by now. Family at restaurant who close to them is coming here because of delinquency. We're talking about the landlord pressure and the owner. The owner back up rent, and I'm looking at it right now. Darkness is how they would be open. A family pattern. Well, 93. One no so they closed down the first casualty out of that chain of restaurant you just mentioned. Closed. We're talking about almost permanently right now if they don't get some infusion of cash to a airport. So this is gonna get worse.
That's one.
Yes, and the
But
government.
but
No restaurant in North Vietnam have ever been closed. I see when you fight to keep from universe open and again, Mr. Mayor, we are seeing the first casualty right now, and you know, I hope that the owner and the people
so
don't take it.
so
We're just
Gassy,
fighting for them.
and that's the thing. People didn't understand, especially the city council did not understand that the reason why we did all the different cultural events in the community was to create more foot traffic so that people would want to buy, you know, hamburgers and smoothies from our health shops, our places of work here.
Right.
And you know, I just look at the other day that the bike lane on the Mario Cuomo Bridge opened up, and the biggest headline on the story was food will be available on the bike path. So guess what? Think about that. Someone applied to get a permit to sell food on that bridge. And you know what? They're going to do very well selling water, hot dogs, other things that people need, parts for the bikes that are on the path. That's a business.
Not only that, that's the
And
whole of the tourism bringing people.
there you
It's a
go.
whole thing.
And,
You
and
know, we have 95 different ethnic groups in 4.5 square mile. You know, what beauty is that? You know, come and see some Arabic food, Chinese food, Mexican food, Italian food. I love more Vernon because of their array of food. And when you remember, you are the first mayor who said restaurant week, and let
That's right.
So, right. And we some people, you know what I mean?
And
We
art week
some
and
people.
art week we did them together. We did one after the other. That way they complemented each other. And it's like, you know, I share this because, you know, when you're building up the confidence of the community. It takes time. You have to spend time. You have to go sit, eat with people. You have to talk with people. We had experts come in and study this, issue plans. And even though those plans were slammed on the desk of the city council and the controller, they still didn't get it. Even to this day, they're still angry about it. And it doesn't make sense. Like, why so much self hate when black lives are supposed to matter and we're creating business opportunities for black people in a black community? What is the problem about creating a black bottom line? We don't want to be in the red, in the negative. We want to make sure that Mount Vernon is profitable, and it was.
Again, we have seen Mount Vernon on air as the news when you win the table. You remember when remember you have beat the table people and fighting for the senior, which is very important. Um, Also, you are also is a mayor that went overseas to the world economic. So, you know, turn over and I mean, to the big college in Westchester for kids, you know, and that's really the thing about, you know, doing your thing with it. Kids, you call it Millennium Mount Vernon. And that's a great picture. We don't see that picture anymore. Most of
Well,
the kids are leave out right now. You
well,
know,
some of the
one
kids,
one
some of the kids have hung back, and some of the kids have definitely stepped up on some of these very important issues, and I support them on that. And I want them to keep standing up. And if they have to go because they have to find work elsewhere, I understand that. But my thing is to look ahead and know that it's going to be a big economic financial problem because the coronavirus shut down the economy. We have to
right.
we have to put in place, you know, we have to strengthen our systems and use all the tools available to avoid losing. And I just want to talk about Club Universe for a moment. You know, what should be done is the city needs to set the priority of, you know, you can save areas of town, you can save business sectors by giving, you know, tax breaks to
Right.
these property owners, and you have to figure out how long will the state of New York or how long will the federal government allow you to provide, let's just call it a local bailout of sorts. Because
For example,
if the property owner that, you know, for the restaurant you just described that closed, the property owner doesn't have to worry about paying their taxes for, let's just say, a year, 1 year. Will the federal government or will the state government float Mount Vernon 2 years worth of dollars to operate in a manner that will cover that 1 year gap? It will give both the property owner and the business owner at least some time to absorb the shock of shutdown. The
Mr. Mayor,
economy suffered a stroke, and when you suffer a
yes,
stroke, you lose functions of your body, and and
everything.
and that and that's where we
Okay.
say we have to look at it like an economic stroke, and we
All right,
have
let
to
me
figure out
bring
how
you
to
up.
rehab it.
Let me bring you up to date in that type of scenario. They're supposed to have what we call the Zoom meeting with small business owners. And we have our owner over there, 154 Southwest Avenue, back of the town, who is supposed to be a part of this. But this is it. The person is not Zoom savvy. They're not computer savvy. We need volunteers to come around to every business people who's in age, who doesn't, who doesn't, let me put it another way, who are literate computer. You can't send somebody who own a business who is 60 or 70 and said, we're going to have a Zoom.
Yeah.
So it's still back on the thing going on, Mr. Mayor. You know what I mean? Just imagine a lady 70-year-old and now you want to give her a loan. And you say, come on Zoom. We're going to have a small business Zoom today. You know, she don't even know what is Zoom, how to get on Zoom, how to bring her phone to get it, and that happen. And that's the thing. Another area to be is not computers. And it's causing a big things. A lot of people that say, something, I'm fed up. And they don't know what to go left or right. So, Mr. Mayor, it's a big confusion out there, and we need people who in government to understand that there is not just the young generation who know about computer. I have kids at 5 years old, you can just give him a computer and they know. But just imagine a 70-year-old who has been running a business for 40 years and today now because of coronavirus, she's in difficulty paying her bill. And then you say, go on Zoom, we're going to give you a loan. Where the hell they
Yeah.
go wrong? That's wickedness, Mr. Mayor. That's a comprehensive training system where they can help these people to go on Zoom, find the applicants, apply, put in the right data. It's not fair.
So this is part of the role of the Chamber of Commerce, and that's why, I've always advocated we have to invest in these local organizations. We need to fund the
Right.
Mount Vernon Chamber of Commerce. You need to give them $250,000 a year from the city so that they can go out and organize and get these businesses that you're describing prepared for exactly what you laid out. They're
Yeah.
not on the computer. They know that they can do good business because they've been doing business for the past 30, 40 years. They didn't need a computer. But now all of a sudden, while it may seem, to some people, oh, it's simple, but to others, it's not. So, we got to take care of all aspects of our economy. We have to invest in our systems. And I just look around and I see so many infrastructure projects that are happening. And you got to insist that local people get work on those jobs. And that's
Right.
the other part. Like, think about it. It's like so much money is going to become available to build stuff. So we should be laying out a very long list of things that need to be built, and we need to, have people ready to work on these jobs. Be it professional services for people that do accounting, or it's other services like cleaning up job sites or working on job sites for specialty trades. And if people are not ready today to go, we need to continue the program that I started that, allows people to get trained within a 3-month period. And the city underwrites, a substantial amount of that cost. Why? Because once that person's trained to work, they're going to work. They're going to pay their rent. They're going to pay, whatever other bills they have to pay, and they're going to contribute. That's what we want. They're going to go to a festival that's in town, and they're going to support a local business owner. But we need to continue the good things, but it's hard to do that when you have, the situation where they're not thinking about all the tools in the toolkit to absorb the shock that the coronavirus has, dealt to our economy.
Right. It is something that, as you say, when the revolution of rebuilding America back in 1917, 18, with first influenza, that's when the country was rebuilding after such a pandemic. Everything gets done. That's why we have stadium, and we have job and railway and a
But
lot of things
but
happen.
let's look ahead. Let's look
Highways
ahead.
go.
Let's look ahead. Hang on. Let's look ahead. Like, we know what the situation is. We know that mass evictions are ahead. We know that,
Right.
from some of the conversations that were held at City Hall today, the financial problems are still here. The controller is still out of control. You know, they once upon a time, all they said was, "Oh, Richard Thomas was the problem for the controller. He didn't submit the paperwork right, and this and that." Come to find out, you listen to the meeting that was held, today about the Urban Renewal Agency, June 16th, that is, 2020. They lay out that it wasn't Richard Thomas. It was always the controller. And
Right.
and they're all like acting surprised, like, well, we have to do something now. And then and it's like there's something that they're gonna do is nothing. They made this problem so bad, and it's like the only way to correct it is you have to have a variety of support systems in place to take control of the controller's office, because that office is, in my opinion, guarding some very dark secrets that expose some real crimes against the city. And I believe that the people that should be there correcting it are there. The state controller's office, they're in there, they're looking. I just hope that they're not doing a political cover up. I hope they're doing their job to say, what, this is wrong, and they correct the wrongs that are being committed against the retirees, and they fix the back pay issues for DPW, and they fix all the other problems that have been created, all because the controller doesn't want to do things because her daughter's baby's daddy didn't get a job for the fire department. I mean, people can't sell their homes because she won't take the transfer tax. I mean, it's insane. And you have this movement called Black Lives Matter, but black leaders in Mount Vernon don't believe that black lives matter. You can see it by their actions.
Well, again, it's only black lives that don't come and, they come here, the rally that was there, and they can see the mayor and them, I must not conversation, but they don't really have presence here.
But
But
what
let me
happened to
tell
the
you,
census? Hang on. What happened to the census? What happened to the issues that need to be addressed? What happened to, all these people are here? We're gonna help build up your businesses so you can become independent. What happened to that? So when you
yeah,
really think about the substantive things, you're not getting that stuff.
no,
You're getting a lot of talk, and that's why I keep advocating for Mount Vernon to continue to strive for better. And I just want to point out, in the newspaper today, that there was a story about a candidate in Mount Kisco calling on Reginald Lafayette, the Democratic Party chairman for Mount Vernon and the county, who is also the elections commissioner for the county board of elections, because she's running in a race and she's not even on the ballot. They took her name off the ballot. And then get this, Gassy, the candidate talks about how people in her district were complaining about how they were told that they did not vote in the polling location that they voted at for decades.
uh,
Does that sound familiar?
yes, there's a minute.
They did it to me. Reggie did it
Yes,
to me. He scrambled over 2,000, voters from on their addresses. He made 4,000 plus ballots disappear. And there are other things that he did to rig the 2019 mayoral primary. But when I say it, it's like, oh, he's just sour grapes. No, but when some other candidate from Mount Kisco starts talking about it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, we got to look at this. This is a big problem.
not only that, it is one month away you know, all that needs abolish, it need reform in that area, Mr. Mayor, It can't have the judge Victoria and executioner running, and that's what it's process,
Well, it's
You have to
obvious
have
that,
one thing.
again, it's obvious they don't care because it's been that way for at least 20 years. And when you think about it, think about it. Reggie's in Mount Vernon, Democratic chair. also for Westchester. And if you really carefully think about it, he lives near Memorial Field. So how can you be the boss, the political boss, and you allow your beloved park to get shit on? You know, think about it. How can you be the boss and you allow your streets to look like, there was a literal war and potholes are like remnants from grenades that went off? Why? How come you would allow politically your town to not have its own strong economy to take care of black people, of all people, when it's a black city? Why? Why be a boss if you ain't gonna really uplift the people? And it's just clear to me that the politics only care about the interest of themselves. They only care about the interest of people that got money, because it's money that says we're the power. And I hope that this movement, this Black Lives Matter movement, restructures that power structure. And I hope that this movement continues to speak the language that I've been listening to all along. These are people that have been disinherited by the system, people that relied upon it.
And personally glad you endorse this system of Black Lives Matter. Even though, as we say, all lives matter, but if Black lives doesn't matter, no life matter. But again, the system was built out on the back of these people, sharecroppers, West Indian slaves, and everyone. But the thing about it is not is the indigenous have continued to do the same thing over 400 years. It just can't work, enough is enough. And when we see the George Floyd, that was like, as they say, the straw that break the camel back, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, again, Mr. Mayor, I personally, that's why I respect everything. But when you, they say, alienate yourself with the people of the ghetto or the south side of Mount Vernon, they say Richie bad, Richie should be like up there in Albany with the millions of governor, should be like plain white, you know what I mean? What you pay, what you know, your grandmother teach you that Richie look out for poor people, because you see they try to take away my home. They try to, treat the south side like it's not a part of Mount Vernon. So I'm glad that you don't sit down and feel, sorry for yourself. You're up and running. And you're talking to where people is listening to on the streaming. People's comment, you have negative, positive, but it's a freedom of speech. If people comment negative, we still respect them. They comment positive, we give thanks. And this is what we're doing. It is very powerful. This is a great thing. We have gloves off, gloves on. Again, you get the gloves, we have 35 hours, or a mama that you do free. That's 4 months on the list. But it's a lot of hitting issue, and we're not easy enough. Again, we have to fight for the right of those kind of people, whether white, Indonesian, black, everyone, guys, not just Black lives do matter. Every life matter. Irish life matter. My son Omar life matter. Every life matter. And we're fighting. Because we can do it much better than killing and then pacifying it. We can do it much better. This is America. And America is beautiful. It's a great country. And a lot of great principles. But for some reason, it's going left. So we have to straighten it back up and realize that, it just takes love to straighten it up.
And that's the sacrifice. That's the greater good, and that's where my hope and my prayer is that the people that are watching all of this, we continue to keep our shoulder to that wheel, pushing forward, because this is the only moment that we're going to get in a long time to make the changes that need to be made.
We're coming up to that. We're gonna go on now. We have a move right now. Chief.
Yeah, tell me about it.
You know, I was in the streets, trying to get what's going on, moving around. But again, in this atmosphere, we have police reform, and what we see going on. Was it a good try? I don't know, Mr. Mayor, but I have the question. You are a white chief of police among Vernon, who's right now, and is worldwide, everybody know about the secret why it's happened by the police, government, and what's going on. And because of the campaigning by the district attorney, for the election, it doesn't want to unlead this time bomb. What do you say, Mr. Mayor? The district attorney didn't want to release these people in the campaigning, for her election, want to repeat the seat. And they call him out. What do you say is going on the white chief and the district attorney slowness of investigating
I don't. So everything moves at different speeds, and there are different dynamics. And allow me to say that because, like, when I was mayor, I could talk to you for maybe 15 minutes, and then I won't come back to you for that same point for maybe 2 months because my the volume of things that I'm dealing with prohibit me from spending more than that 15 to 20 minutes, or let's just say an hour, on that issue that relates specifically to you. I'm dealing with a variety of dynamics that require my attention. So I just want to give you that and say investigations take time and they have to look at all the facts and you want to get it right. So I think to characterize him as slow is again, it's part of the politics right now, and I think that District Attorney Scarpino has been doing a good job in a number of areas. I mean, he partnered with my administration when I was a political quote unquote pariah to the party. Why was I a political pariah to the party? Because I asked questions about $96 million that's missing. But he still made it a point to partner with law enforcement in Mount Vernon, with the ATF, the FBI, different agencies to get illegal guns and drugs off our streets. And you saw the sharp decline in crime in Mount Vernon.
yes, I mean,
Now, yeah, so he worked as part of a broader team, and that's to be commended. But the people politically that are angry with him for not doing whatever bidding they want, and you think about it, that his opponent lent her campaign $300,000. Think about that, right? So who's really paying for this? Like, what do you want to be district attorney so bad for? And think of the implication here now. How many candidates can lend themselves a couple $100,000 to run a campaign? I know that I did that, and then when they looked and saw that I started to reimburse myself, even though I spent over $60,000 of my own money, right? They broke every rule to get around election law to make it into a criminal proceeding. But why they did that? It was political. I was asking questions about $96 million that's missing in Mount Vernon. Money, it's still missing, and guess what? They started to discuss it today, and I deliberately commented on Facebook, like, are you going to address that issue? And all of a sudden, you got the backpedaling. Oh, we're not sure if we're going to write it off or not. Yeah, they're going to try and write it off because politically, they want to put it on the backs of the people to pay. They don't want the people that got the money politically, because where did the money really go? How else did the former mayor obtain 11 homes? How did the former comptroller own buildings in Brooklyn and Washington, laundromats? Think about that. How'd you get that on a public servant salary? How'd you get that? How? So, I digress a bit, but I just say, I think that the politics, they have some secrets that they want to, and it undermines democracy when you really look at what's being done. And I think that District Attorney Scarpino has done he's done his job. He's done an apolitical job. And you know what? I support that. I salute that. He's from Mount Vernon and he's always been authentic. He's been straightforward. And while some people may not, like the fact that he's been apolitical, I think that's the right, temperament you want in that role. Because think about when Ferguson happened. They had a political, right? A political situation where they didn't go after those officers that were involved in that. That was a political decision. And look, I just know that I take issue with the fact that everybody's trying to turn their back on somebody that delivered and collaborated with my administration to make the people of Mount Vernon safer. Even though we didn't agree on everything, he still made sure that he worked hard to keep Mount Vernon people safe.
That's the word of the wise. The thing about it, Mr. Mayor, it's a political campaigning moment. Anybody listening to this, just hear Richard Thomas and do it. All the district attorney, Mr. Scarpino. We can go on and on about
But also, but with respect to the police chief of Mount Vernon, Jay Olifiers, he worked underneath Chief Zadie. Ass off because his administration, the police department was unfunded. You remember that? No police commissioner was funded, 20 cops were taken away, all sorts of things were just not funded properly, and those things still go on because the controller's not paying the bills. Go down the list. But Chief Zadie worked his tail off. I support him. I support all the things that he did because he was one of the driving forces. I'm talking about Zadie to help put in the various systems that did not exist and collaborate with different agencies. Each agency was in its own silo, but then I broke it up and made everybody work together, which is what you're supposed to do. I'm not going to go on to a tangent on that, but I do want to say that Olifiers did support Zadie. Olifiers worked very hard on a lot of the things that we did. Um, I think that Olifiers is he's intelligent. He's been around, but there are some things that he's going to have to demonstrate to the community. He's going to have to demonstrate to you guys. He's going to have to demonstrate to all people in Mount Vernon that he is going to be balanced and he's going to be compassionate. He's not going to be, you know, he's not going to bring the concerns that some people have in the community to life. He's going to be compassionate and he's going to be steady. And I hope that the strength that Zadie had and a lot of the wisdom that Zadie had, I hope that Chief Olifiers taps into that. And I think that he can be a real resource for him because they work well with each other. But again,
what I like with Zadie, he didn't have what we call a good sense of humor.
yeah,
Zadie will take a good laugh any time of the day. And that's what you have to bring on the job. Learn how to laugh, learn how to enjoy your community. And that's what I feel. Like, for example, when he came out yesterday on South Fourth Avenue, it was like all he did was a detective. He didn't walk up and say hello to the people, them, chief and thing. And that's kind of not nice. I see him out there standing, talking only with the detective. The detective is running around like a chicken out there. That's not nice for the community. We're talking about the farm, community policing and things. So if he will come out and he will come and come across and say, well, what people say now, I know what people say. He's looking to see when the store closed or when the store open. Nobody know when the store are moving and close are open because the mayor don't give an official open. We're talking about night was a resident who called the fire brigade and closed them down. This type of behavior is, I wish it was government would give a news conference or a press conference and say, listen, Mount Vernon, we're going to be opening on this thing. Let's do it civil. Maybe you keep a party, because you know you're in the party there. You have to keep party for everything. So maybe you keep a party to open up Mount Vernon. That's how you do it.
Yeah, and that's right. You got to keep people happy, and you turn on the music, you turn on the Barbie, and you let the kids run around. This time with their masks on. This is what we got to do. We got to do it different. And you know what, Gassy? This is the perfect opportunity to really look at that plan I put forward for building more parking lots. Build
Right,
these parking lots with green rooftops with fields on top, and then think about like the space in front of Pizza King. And I did a lot of meetings at a Pizza King when I was there because it was right there. But think about the spot right there for the pizza. Everybody double parks there. Can you imagine building like an outdoor seating area in front of every restaurant, like every other parking spot, and just kind of create these bigger parking structures where people will be forced to park the cars, walk to the shops. It's not a novel idea, it's but how most other successful business districts are structured. You have parking. And oh, by the way, excuse me, there was a plan that I commissioned and had, in South Fourth Avenue that called for parking structures. Anyway,
right.
I say, think about making it look like Ridge Hill. Make Gramerton and Fourth Avenue look like Ridge Hill with beautiful, lush, very well landscaped outdoor seating areas. And the fact is, the vision was to do it for the people that are here in Mount Vernon now, not for the people that are going to come in after thousands of our friends and families are going to be evicted from the
That's right.
city. Okay?
Yes.
So I want everybody to
Yes.
know that we could have had this done if the politics didn't, corrupt the situation and try
You
to
know,
and literally take me out because they didn't like the fact I was asking questions about the money and what happened
it's
at
gonna,
Memorial Field.
it's gonna done. I'm like, Grimes and Columbus and North 14th, and I'm looking at the field that underneath your government with construct. I remember this place used to be what we call hillside, with trees, a lot of things there. Now when you look over there, you see the fence, you're looking at the playing field, you have people coming from there now who can sit down there. You have this young lady coming to play, in the park and things. But it's transformed the area, you know what I mean, Mr. Mayor? Where's the pretty girl? I'm saying I to Mr. Mayor, Richie Summer. Say hi to Mr. Summer. Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
hey,
the
hey.
pretty girl, they're coming, yeah. They're coming from there. Yeah, and this is 4th Street and Columbus Crime School that you turn around and just imagine all the place look like Saturday there and everything. And these are the part of moving and you was transforming from Hudson, Hudson Park, Hudson Park,
Yeah.
right now. Sir, I want you to do the show. Why I want you to do the show?
Well,
Because we still see the remnants of Richie Thomas and the vision and what you set out to do in moving and to make it. Come out and the medieval status it was in, You
and
need a comprehensive
and that and
plan,
and that hits the nail on the head, Gassy. It's about making sure
Richie,
that families
Richie,
can be home.
Richie, Richie, 20 million in tourism, 20 minutes away from us. If you go to New York right now, all the tourists from all over the world, we are just one sidewalk away from the five borough. One sidewalk is down, one
Yep.
sidewalk is Westchester. Why cannot we get a slice of the cake? And nobody talking to that. Richie Thomas is the one. I mean, you go on the Richie. We are on the street now. That's a year. And this bill government to bring the most visitor party to Louisville. Again, people, again, we're not exaggerating. Everybody thinks it's scary, but we have seen Richie do it.
and and do it under extreme circumstances. And that's where it's like, look, I
nobody can say it was you who burned the fire from the moral field. And if the fire was just, change of the case, it's the coronavirus. Change it up. We need
make
more
it
money.
bigger.
So make it bigger.
Yeah,
Make it bigger.
hire more people. That's
Mr.
it.
Mayor, we have a party tonight.
Yeah, man. I just want to play this last song, Michael Jackson, for all the fathers. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, Gassy.
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there.
And your beautiful wife and your son and your beautiful daughter. And Mr. Mayor, listen, they say, endurance. The race is not for the swift, neither the battle for the strong. It's who can enjoy it, and we enjoy it.
Gloves on.
Gloves off. All right, Marvin, darling. It's like a butterfly. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, y'all. Gloves on, gloves off. Another epic.
Bless up.
Bless up, bless up, bless up. Happy Father's Day, y'all.